A midnight blaze at a nursing home in South Jeolla Province has claimed the lives of 20 seniors and a nurse assistant. The eldest daughter of Yoo Byung-un, de facto owner of the Sewol Ferry, was arrested in Paris, France on charges of illicit business activities. And a statue to honor victims of Japanese wartime sexual slavery will be erected in the U.S. state of Virginia.
Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Wednesday, May 28th. I'm Luke Clary. 20 seniors and one nurse assistant have died in a fire at a nursing home in Samgye-myeon, Jangseong County, South Jeolla Province. The tragedy happened in a two-story building that was annexed with the Hyosarang Nursing Home shortly after midnight on May 28th. The fire was contained in half an hour. The 20 residents and one nurse assistant killed in the blaze were smothered by the smoke. 7 others sustained injuries. The dead and the injured have been transported to 10 nearby hospitals, including Cheomdan and Chosun University hospitals in Gwangju. When the fire broke out, there were 77 elderly patients, 1 nurse and 1 nurse assistant in the building. The death toll was particularly high because most of the patients suffered from dementia and stroke. Bereaved families of the victims of a fire that occurred at Goyang Terminal in Gyeonggi Province visited the site of the tragedy to protest the way the authorities responded to the accident. They demanded that the cause of the fire be clarified and that a joint altar be established for their lost relatives. They also demanded that the government form a task force to address the tragedy. The families are also blaming the government of Goyang City for concealing the fact that the fire prevention shutters in the terminal building had been modified, but they have yet to meet with the officials in charge of the matter. The search for the missing victims of the Sewol Ferry has reached an impasse. The government and the victims' families have reached an agreement on a new search method, cutting into the submerged vessel.
This is a recently shot video showing what the ferry looks like inside on the 4th floor. Fallen partitions and other obstacles are blocking the divers from accessing the area. The government and family members have agreed to cut out a portion of the outer part of the ferry's body. An area 4.8 meters wide and 1.5 meters high will be cut off near a cabin window on the 4th floor on the boat's right-hand side by the stern. Other preparations are being made to continue the search efforts in the bow and central section as the operation to cut away the section takes place.
부유물과 장애물은 에어백이나 윈치 등을 이용하여 다른 구역의 수중 수색에 지장이 없도록 제거할 계획입니다.
The use of a crane raised concerns as it can threaten the diver's safety, thus resulting in an extended suspension in the search efforts. So now, a windlass will be used instead. It's easier to adjust the location of an obstacle with a windlass than it is with a crane, which means the windlass will be less of a hindrance to the search operation. A net will also be drawn over the area that is cut away to prevent the loss of any bodies.
수색의 전면 중지라는 위험성의 해소 방안이 도출되어서 실종자 가족들은 이번 대안적 수색 조치의 성과라는 희망의 끈을 다시 잡아보려고 합니다.
The detailed timetable of the cutting into the ferry body will be determined after a new barge arrives at the scene Wednesday to conduct an underwater probe on Thursday. Experts say if the weather conditions aren't bad, it will only take 1 or 2 days to cut into the ferry. They say the most important factor is how fast the obstacles inside the cabins can be removed.
The eldest daughter of the de facto owner of the ill-fated Sewol Ferry has been arrested in Paris on charges of illicit business activities. The Justice Ministry in Seoul says that the French police arrested the eldest daughter of Yoo Byung-un on Tuesday. The 48-year-old woman, whose name is Sum-na, is the first member in the Yoo family to be arrested since South Korean prosecutors launched an investigation into her father's responsibility for the sinking of the Sewol Ferry. Following the woman's flight to France, the prosecutors asked Interpol to arrest her. Yoo Sum-na is accused of embezzling over $7.8 million from companies affiliated with her design firm. The prosecutors summoned her on April 29th. However, she refused to cooperate with the investigation, so they sought an arrest warrant and froze her passport. You will have to face a repatriation trial in France. Seoul says that it will work to bring her back as soon as possible. The families of the sunken ferry victims are coming out against lawmakers for bickering over matters of witness selection for a parliamentary probe into the ferry disaster. Stung by the criticism, rival parties resumed talks on the parliamentary probe schedule, but have so far failed to reach an agreement.
Family members gathered at the joint memorial altar for the ferry victims board a bus one by one. The group includes families of civilian victims and those who survived the ferry sinking.
국회로 갑니다. 오늘 본회의가 예정이 되어 있고 특히 국정조사 요구서를 채택할 예정이라고 해서 저희 가족들 입장에서 그 과정을 한번 지켜보고 싶은 마음.
But at the National Assembly, not even a plenary session could be convened. Families strongly protested both ruling and opposition party lawmakers for failing to agree on the selection of witnesses for a parliamentary probe into the ferry accident.
서로 당략을 따지는 것 같은데 기관이 먼저고 사람이 먼저냐 이걸 따지기 전에 합의하십시오.
그동안에 있어왔던 국정조사처럼 관행대로 허지부지 되겠네요. 관행을 무시할 수 없다고 하시는 거.
Families also expressed complaints, noting that during a past assembly probe into the civilian surveillance scandal, the probe committee chair at the time wasted as long as 17 months. Family members burst out in frustration.
어떻게 실종자를 구할 것인지 대책 방안을 세워놓으셨습니까? 맨날 최선만 한다고 해서 여태까지 못했지 않았습니까? 다른 방법은 없습니까?
Following their audience for the victims' families and their complaints, rival parties resumed talks on setting a probe schedule and discussed it through the night, but eventually failed to arrive at an agreement.
The Defense Ministry has denounced North Korea for denying that it fired shells near a South Korean Navy ship last week. Ministry spokesman Kim Min-seok said in a news briefing Wednesday that Seoul sent a message of protest to Pyongyang through an inter-Korean hotline last Thursday, calling its denial unreasonable and ridiculous. Refuting North Korea's claim, the spokesman explained that a South Korean soldier aboard the naval ship heard the shelling and reported it to his seniors. On last Friday, the North Korean military's Western Front Command rejected South Korea's charges as sheer fabrication. President Park Geun-hye has announced a government reorganization plan under which a new deputy prime minister will handle non-economic affairs. The reorganization is aimed at boosting safety, reforming the public sector, and realizing responsible governance.
During a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, President Park Geun-hye introduced a plan to make structural changes to the cabinet. The most distinctive feature is to create another deputy prime minister post to handle non-economic affairs such as education, society, and culture. The plan is aimed at enhancing efficiency and responsibility in the policy-making process. Under the plan, the prime minister will serve as a manager of comprehensive state affairs. He will focus on key matters on the government's agenda of restoring the legal order, reforming the public sector, boosting social safety, and normalizing other abnormalities. The National Security Advisor will take charge of diplomacy, defense, and security issues. The Deputy Prime Minister for Economy, otherwise known as the Finance Minister, will continue to oversee the nation's economic policies. The newly added Deputy Prime Minister will take care of educational, societal, and cultural matters. The government reform is expected to promote policy coordination and realize responsible governance. Under the direction of President Park Geun-hye, the Prime Minister, the two Deputy Prime Ministers, and the National Security Advisor will lead the government.
각 부처는 경제혁신 3개년 계획과 규제 개혁, 공공기관 정상화 등 주요 국정 업무가 차질 없이 추진이 되도록 노력해 주기를 바라고 모두가 각자의 위치에서 본연의 자세로 돌아와서 자기 업무에 최선을 다해 줄 것을 당부합니다.
The Deputy Prime Minister for Education was first introduced during the Kim Dae-jung administration in 2001, but the post was abolished after the Lee Myung-bak administration took office in 2008. The restructuring will increase the number of government agencies to 38.
Moves within the U.S. House of Representatives indicate a push to have South Korea join a U.S.-Japan missile defense system in the region. It's a critical time for such talk as South Korea and China are discussing a bilateral summit.
The MD, or Missile Defense System, is designed to defend against long-range missile attacks. For instance, North Korea owns long-range missiles with a range of over 5,500 kilometers. With an MD system, such missiles can be struck down in any phase of their ascension and flight. The U.S. and Japan are joining efforts in creating an MD system. Washington also has plans to deploy 2 Aegis ships to Japan to defend against potential long-range missile attacks from North Korea.
In response to Pyongyang's pattern of provocative and destabilizing actions, I can announce today that the United States is planning to forward deploy 2 additional Aegis ballistic missile defense ships to Japan by 2017.
The U.S. Defense Department has also requested Congress to approve the purchase of long-range detection radar to be better prepared against the threat of North Korea's intercontinental ballistic missiles. Against this backdrop, the U.S. House of Representatives has recently asked the Defense Department to review and report on ways to strengthen missile defense cooperation with South Korea and Japan. This report is expected to be submitted in 6 months' time. The move is questioned by some as an attempt to urge Seoul's participation in the MD regime. It also comes at a critical time when summit talks between Seoul and Beijing are being discussed. China has strongly opposed a U.S.-led missile defense, and South Korea has also declared it will establish its own separate MD system.
A monument to honor victims of the Japanese wartime sexual slavery program will be erected Friday in the U.S. state of Virginia. Local sources say the monument will be unveiled at the Peace Memorial Garden behind the Fairfax County Government Building in Northern Virginia. The unveiling ceremony will take place on Friday and is to be attended by officials of Korean organizations. One source says that the 2-meter-wide, 1.5-meter-tall monument has a copper plate attached with inscriptions saying that women were forcibly recruited to serve as sex slaves for Japanese troops, and a call from Representative Mike Honda requesting compensation from Tokyo. Honda has also been key in the U.S. House passage of a Comfort Women resolution. The new monument is the 7th of its kind in the U.S., and the latest project is the result of a year-long effort by a monument committee led by members of the Korean Council for Women drafted for military sexual slavery by Japan in Washington. Laundry is a task that most of us dread, even though most of the work is done by a machine. There's a wide variety of models to choose from to make your work easier, and here's more.
People tend to do more laundry in the sticky summer months. Today's washing machines offer more options to consumers with a wide range of convenient functions. They also come in many different designs. The latest model can be hung on the wall, and new features are added every time a new model is introduced. Let's take a mini washing machine with a capacity for 3 to 5 kilogram loads. Compared to conventional front-loading machines, mini washers save 60% in wash cycle time and over 80% in energy bills. The machines are perfect for families with young children or single people who need to do many small loads per week. But surprisingly, the most popular washing model of late is the top loader. Here's why these traditional washing machines are popular among housewives.
예전에 드럼으로 썼다가 다시 통돌이로 돌아갔어요. 통돌이가 물 양이나 전체적인 유지비는 적게 들어갈 것 같아요.
Here's a comparison between an affordable top loader and a front loader with various settings and functions. This household uses both types of washers. Why does an ordinary family of 4 need 2 washers?
처음에 통돌이를 먼저 사용을 했었는데요. 통돌이를 사용하다 이제 출산을 하고 나서 아기 세탁을 하다 보니까 드럼 세탁기를 구입해서 사용을 하게 됐는데요. 둘 다 장단점이 좀 다르다 보니까 2개 다 같이 사용을 하게 됐어요.
Both washers have a capacity of 12 kilograms, but have vastly different pros and cons. The difference lies in how the machines operate.
전자동 세탁기의 경우에는 세탁기 내조에 있는 빨래판이 회전을 하면서 강한 물살을 만들어주게 되고 빨래가 서로 비벼 빨아지게 되는 원리입니다. 따라서 물을 많이 필요로 하게 되고요. 드럼 세탁기의 경우에는 세탁기가 회전을 하면서 그 회전에 의한 낙차에 의해서 빨래를 두드려 빠는 형식으로 보시면 됩니다. 따라서 물을 많이 필요로 하지 않는다는 장점이 있습니다.
It's easier to load a front-loading machine, and the clothes don't get tangled much during washing. This is useful for households that need different features, such as a boiling temperature setting.
아기 세탁물이나 속옷가지 같은 경우는 드럼 세탁기를 이용해서 세탁을 하는 편이고요.
But its downside is that the wash cycles can take too long, using up that much energy. On the other hand, a top loader has shorter wash cycles and consumes less electricity. Its tub is also big enough to accommodate bulky items like a comforter.
이불 세탁이나 겉 잠바나 크게 옷감 상하는 걱정이 없는 옷이나 좀 보통 세탁이 필요한 옷감 같은 경우는 통놀이를 이용해서 세탁을 하고 있어요.
But since the door is located at the top, it's harder to remove washed clothes. And the strong water streams can cause clothes to tangle. In short, a front loader uses less water, but a top loader uses less electricity. Tangled clothes and fabric damage are less of a problem for a front loader. To sum it up, a top loader is great for bulky items or a family that needs to do many big loads. But a front loader is perfect for delicate items or washing baby clothes that require specialized high-temperature setting. Now let's find out how you can save on your energy bill. Remember that a high-temperature setting can use up to 10 times more electricity than a cold water setting. If clothes don't have set-on stains, use a short washing cycle to save time and money. It's also better to do one big load at a time. It's most efficient when the tub is filled up to 80%.
전자동 세탁기의 경우에는 강한 물살을 이용해서 빨래를 하기 때문에 세탁기 용량의 80% 정도를 사용하시는 것이 가장 효율적이며 드럼 세탁기의 경우에는 주먹 하나가 들어갈 수 있는 공간이 있으면 세탁은 가능합니다만 행궁력과 효율을 위해서 80% 용량으로 세탁을 하시는 것이 전기요금을 아낄 수 있는 방법입니다.
When clothes don't come out clean even after washing, the tub may be too dirty. Especially when the weather turns hot, a washer provides the best environment for germs to multiply. Here are some tips to keep your washer clean and sanitized. Leave the washer door open after a wash to dry out the interior. It's important to keep the rubber seal clean and intact in a front-load washer. It's also better to use a detergent made especially for that configuration. Apply water mixed with baking soda to clean between the rubber seals. It effectively removes dirt stuck between the seams. Unlike a top-loading machine, a front-loader's filter is located in an obscure place, so don't forget to clean the filter at least once a month. The tub needs to be cleaned out monthly as well. Pour a cup of vinegar and run the washer's rinse cycle to keep the tub clean. Consider the pros and cons of each washer configuration and choose the one that fits your needs. That way you can have fresh-smelling, clean clothes and save money as well.
Now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. That's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Have a great day.